Let me tell you something. No one cares as much as you think they do. You are not the center of the universe, and that's a good thing. I used to take myself so seriously, and all it did is keep me stuck. I was not making decisions. I was acting out of fear. I was convinced that everybody was watching me and waiting to see me fail. It was not a healthy mindset, and it did not benefit me or anybody else in my life. You know, I felt like every action that I took was set in stone. And that if I said I liked something, then I always had to like that thing. If I said I was a certain way, then I always had to be that way. When in reality, we're constantly evolving and constantly changing. And that's a good thing. Because in this life, it's all about exploration and experimentation and figuring out who you are through trial and error. And that who you are is not a final destination. It's a fluid movement that continually progresses throughout your life. Who you are isn't set in stone. It's never going to be set in stone. You're never going to have a moment that feels as if you know this is who I am for the rest of time. Throughout life, who you are will evolve and expand and refine. And yes, there will be core aspects of who you are that will stay the same. But identity as a whole is never a stagnant thing. It's not a final destination, it's a journey. Life, it's not a straight path. It's a series of experiments. You're meant to mess up, you're meant to adjust, you're meant to learn new things as you go. It's part of the path, it's part of the journey. Nobody is out here keeping score but you. You think people are watching your every move, but in reality, they're so concerned about their own moves, they don't have the capacity to watch you. And it's crazy because I was stuck in this mindset for a very long time. I thought that anytime I made a mistake, anytime I did something wrong, people would remember it. They were taking score, they were keeping notes. When in reality, I came to realize that everybody is so worried about how other people are going to perceive them that they do not have time to actually analyze or observe what other people are doing. Yeah, people might know, oh, you did this or you did that. Okay, I'm not saying that that doesn't happen. But that thought is so fleeting for them. They do not hold on to those thoughts. We're the ones who hold on to those thoughts about ourselves. And it puts us in this situation where literally everybody is anxious and worried and putting up a front and not taking the risks they want to take because they're so worried that other people are observing them. And I wish I had a visual for this, but it's like everybody is in a bubble thinking that everybody else is looking in their bubble, when in reality, everybody is looking inside their own bubble, trying to figure it out and worrying about how other people are going to perceive them. And it's understandable because the way society works, it conditions us to fear making mistakes and to fear being imperfect. But the reality is the most successful people in this life, they take risks. They do the thing that's embarrassing or they do the thing that's scary. They're not afraid to show weakness or vulnerability because at the end of the day, no risk equals no reward. And you can never just be perfect at a thing. Unfortunately, even though I would love for this not to be the case, you can never just be perfect at a thing from the get-go. You must take risks. You must be willing to make mistakes. You must be willing to be vulnerable. You know, being serious and taking yourself seriously all the time is actually a big sign of insecurity. The most confident people, they embrace failure. They recognize that they're imperfect and they're fallible. This was actually a very hard truth for me to swallow because I, for a long time, believed that I was very confident. I'd convinced everyone and myself of this fact. But the deeper I dug and the more life threw at me, the more I realized that I did have a level of insecurity in a certain regard. It's very interesting because not anything is black and white. So in many aspects of my life, I do embrace failure. It's okay if I try and I fail, whatever. It's fine. That's the whole point. It's such a different mentality in a majority of my life. But then in certain aspects of my life, mostly my interpersonal relationships, whether it be friendships, romantic or family or otherwise, any kind of interpersonal relationship, I have such a fear of failure. And it's something I'm working on and I'm trying to figure out. The fear of failure can present itself in so many nuanced ways. And because of that, I never realized how much it was impacting me, because in the ways that fear of failure is most often discussed, I felt that I did not relate. Yet I knew there was a fear of failure inside me. And that's how I realized the nuance of it. And that's how I realized that I do have a fear of failure in interpersonal relationships. But all it does is hold you back. All it does is hold you back. Because at the end of the day, failure is just part of being human. And it's so funny how, as human beings, we're so often able to say the right thing for other people to do, but find it so much harder to actually apply those things to our own lives. So I do recognize this is very difficult, and even I struggle with it. That being said, though, I recognize I also am holding myself back in that regard. Because at the end of the day, it is part of being human that is being imperfect. It's part of being human to fail. And taking myself so seriously is not helping anybody, especially not myself. Because at the end of the day, failure does not define you. Life, it's just one big experiment. So stop taking things so seriously and start acting like it. You don't have to have it all figured out. Nobody does. All you have to do is show up and try and learn. Trying things, it's the only way to learn. Thinking about it is not the same thing as doing it. The people you admire, they're just people that tried and failed more times than you. I don't know if it's the Gemini in me, but I've always experimented. I've experimented with music taste. I've experimented with my hair. I've experimented with my clothes. I've experimented literally with my voice. I've experimented with my aura, my presence. I've experimented with the type of workouts I like to do or my nighttime routine. I've experimented with different careers and different paths that I want to take. And truly, truly, this is why I feel I know myself so much better than most people my age. And it's something that I get told a lot. And it's not because, again, I'm some special superhuman. It's just that I took the risks. Like I said, I'm not perfect. There are aspects of my life where I still struggle with this. But in large part, I have always been willing to take risks and to experiment to figure it out. It always seems so obvious to me that in order to figure out if I like something or not, I actually have to do it. There are some things that I know for a fact I won't like, but there are a lot of things that I don't know for a fact that I won't like. And I always felt I owed it to myself to figure it out. Like, if you want to hear some lore, I was vegan for 5 years, throughout high school, or 4 years, about 4 years throughout high school. Well, now I'm not vegan, but I had that whole experience, and I had, in that time, changed so many things and figured out so many things because they felt right for me at the time. And as I grew up, they no longer felt right, and I tried new things and figured out new things. Some practical ways to do this is say yes to something new that kind of scares you or that you would usually say no to. Just say yes. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, you don't like it, and then what? You don't do it again. It's not a big deal. The other thing is stop over-explaining yourself. Either say yes or say no or whatever. Just do the thing. It's a big issue we have as a society, especially I think women struggle with this even more. It's the over-explaining yourself. I think because I have been living in my own little world for quite some time now, I lost this aspect of myself. When I go and my friends ask to do something or my family says something or whoever or whatever, I don't feel the need to explain my answer. And because I've been living in my own world, when I see other people saying yes or saying no in my circles, I realize that everybody explains themselves so much. Even to me, like, I'll tell my friends, listen, you don't have to explain your reasoning. You said no, it's fine. Or you said yes, it's fine. So stop over-explaining yourself. Just do the thing that you want to do. Nobody, for the most part, nobody is entitled to your explanation. Unless you willingly want to give it, nobody is entitled to it. And then let go of the need for approval. I think in my case, my upbringing made it inevitable that I had to let go of that because it didn't matter what I did, I wasn't approved. So I just did whatever I wanted. But The need for approval is killing you. Because in reality, do you even like or respect these people that you're looking or seeking approval from? Be honest with yourself. Like, would you want to be them? Would you want their life? Do you admire and respect them? So why do you want their approval? If somebody is doing something completely different than you, even if you say you admire and respect them, but they have no capacity to understand what it is that you want to do with your life, why seek their approval? At the end of the day, the only person you're stuck with for the rest of your life is yourself. The only person whose approval you need is yourself. Everybody else means nothing, is nothing. I don't care how much you love them. I don't care how important they are in your life. At the end of the day, you cannot make decisions about what you want to do with your life based on the approval of other people. So let that shit go. Perfectionism, perfectionism is a prison. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to live. Because the truth of the matter is, perfectionism is just fear in disguise. This is another harsh truth I had to accept within myself. I always have been a perfectionist. I either do it and I do it perfect, or I don't do it at all. And I've always felt this way. And it was very hard, and it's still something I work on unlearning within myself. But the reality is, it's true. Perfectionism is just fear in disguise. Fear of doing or saying the wrong thing. Fear of people looking at you and judging you because you're not perfect. And this, again, can expand into so many forms. I'm trying to keep these a little shorter so I don't go on a tangent. Otherwise, honestly, I could talk for 5 hours. But perfectionism applies on so many nuanced levels of your life, whether it's academic, it's professional, it's interpersonal, it's intrapersonal, whatever it might be, okay? Perfectionism plays a role in so many aspects of your life. And I had to admit to myself at one point that I was just such a scared person. I was so scared of being seen in all the mess that is who I am and being seen as imperfect that I felt it was better not to try than to try and deliver something or be something that's imperfect. But that just meant that I was living a shell of a life because I was so afraid of not being this perfect little thing. When in reality, the only way for me to ever get to that level of perfection, if it's even possible, would be from trying and being imperfect and trying again. And then in some regards, say in the interpersonal space, there is no such thing as perfection. If you're too perfect in your relationships, which I've come to realize, it just means that you're putting on a front, that you're putting on a mask, that you're not actually being fully vulnerable or authentic with the people around you. And that was honestly a very hard thing that I had to also accept about myself, because for a long time, I was very perfect in my friendships, I think. And then recently in the past, I want to say year, and keep in mind, like in a lot of my newer friendships, obviously my friendships that have spanned since I was a kid, we've seen every level of each other. But like in my newer friendships, I've always been seen as perfect or presented myself as perfect. And when there would be a fight or something would happen, because the other person would be like, you just display yourself as perfect, and it made them feel bad, which in my head, I didn't think about it like that. I just thought about how I was protecting myself. Then I'd just leave. I'd shut down. I am a runner. I'd shut down. I'd leave. And it's only in the recent year with my newer friendships that I'm really learning how to be imperfect. And my friends are giving me a lot of grace because honestly, my imperfections are showing quite a bit, especially with the people closest to me, because I'm trying to navigate and learn how to be a vulnerable person when I've never in my life been vulnerable on that intimate of a level. But the reality is you have to do the uncomfortable thing if you want to break out of this prison of perfectionism, because you're the only one holding yourself back in this regard. You're the only one that's holding yourself back by forcing yourself to be perfect and expecting the unrealistic from yourself, and also not allowing whatever it might be, whether it's the people in your life or the events in your life, to show you and that you don't need to be perfect in order to be successful, in order to be confident, in order to be loved. You can never find that out if you don't ever put yourself out there and be imperfect. Because obviously when you present as perfect, people are going to love you, things are going to look good, but you're still going to feel hollow inside because you don't have the support you need. And you're not pursuing the things you want to pursue, because the things you really want to pursue, you don't have a shot at being perfect at first try. This whole podcast thing is a great example. Honestly, I have made so many mistakes so far. It's crazy. And I have dealt with so many different things in trying to figure this whole podcasting thing out. And it's been imperfect. And if I hadn't really worked on this concept in the past year, there is no shot I would have been able to do what I'm doing right now. Because I would have been shaking in my boots. Like I would have felt physically like I want to pull myself out of my skin because something is out there that's imperfect, that shows my humanity and shows that I am human. Like I actually am not even kidding. And something just clicked in the past few months that, you know what? I kind of said, screw it. Like, whatever. Because in the reality, it is like, whatever. It's not that deep. It really is not that deep. At the end of the day, so what? Be imperfect. Take yourself out of that prison. Stop caging yourself in a prison of your own making. Stop letting other people and external circumstance and societal belief stop you from living the life you want to live. Stop it. Break out of that prison. Reality is, there's no right time. This is a motto of mine. I say this all the time. There's no right time. There's just time and what you do with it. In life, there is no right time. There is just time and what you do with it. So stop trying to create a scenario where all the factors are perfect, because in reality, there will never be a scenario like that. Stop trying to create a scenario where you feel like all the internal factors are aligned, where you feel, most prepared. You will never feel prepared to do the things that are most important to you because they are big risks that you want to take. And nothing will prepare you for that. You just got to go in. Got to go into the fire. Stop taking it so seriously. Fumble, laugh at your mistakes. Like, so what? It's so funny. The other episode that I posted recently was delayed because my whole system crashed out on me. And if that had happened to me 6 months ago, if this whole scenario happened 6 months ago, I would be so ashamed, so embarrassed, so upset. I might have just quit this whole thing to begin with. I'll be like, bye. Because I would not have been able to handle the feelings of shame I had over being imperfect. But when this happened this time around, because my headspace is different, I was like, honestly, yeah, it's annoying, but like, whatever. I learned from it. Everybody's been so supportive. People are going to understand that this is a new thing for me and I'm figuring it out. And when you start to see things positively like that, actually, like, everything is positive. Like, I have not had one person give me a negative. Everyone has been so kind and so supportive and so patient. And I would have never realized the kindness of the community around me if I was so afraid of being imperfect that I never tried. Anyways, to wrap this up, I want to say one thing. Go do something today. Go do something this week. Stop being afraid. You are not special for being afraid. Everybody is afraid. You are not unique or special for being afraid of going out there and being imperfect and taking risks. Everybody is afraid of these things. The only difference is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to live in that fear? Are you going to live in that bubble of quote unquote perfectionism? Or are you going to go live your life perfectly imperfect, just happily imperfect, and enjoying the failures of life and growing and learning and experiencing? There are so many things I wouldn't be doing in my life if I was so afraid of being imperfect. I wouldn't paint, I wouldn't journal, I wouldn't write, I wouldn't be doing this podcast, I wouldn't try new styles, I wouldn't change up my hair, I wouldn't work out at the gym with a bunch of other people. And all of these things, at one point or another, I stopped doing because I was afraid of being imperfect. Until one day, I just clicked in my head, like, what a stupid notion that I should not do the things that bring me joy just because I'm not perfect at them. That I should not do the things that I want to do or pursue the dreams that I have because I'm imperfect. What a dumb notion. So go do the thing that you want to do. Go take the risk you want to do and do it imperfectly and do it with a smile on your face. I guarantee you there are so many kind people in this world that will support you. They will support you in your endeavors. This podcast is a testament to that. Now, the other thing is, you don't need permission to start acting differently. You can literally wake up today. Actually, you can finish this video and decide, I'm going to start living differently. You don't need to announce it to anyone. You don't need to get anyone's permission. All you need to do is start acting differently. And if people have questions, let them question. You don't owe anyone an explanation. If you want to start living differently, if you want to stop being stuck, if you want to get out of your own head and stop holding yourself back, just start. Start acting and living differently and forget about the rest. Just do it. One thing Nike got right is just do it. Seriously. That's the bottom line. Yap all you want, but at the end of the day, you gotta just do it. I want you to pick one small experiment this week and just do it. No excuses. One small experiment, take a risk and do something different and do it imperfect and do it anyway. And if you'd like, DM me or comment on the post and let me know what it is you did, because I'd love to hear about it. I've had people already reach out to me and it's been so cool and so interesting to have those conversations. So please do not hesitate to reach out. I think it's so awe-inspiring and interesting to have these discussions. So my final sentiment for today is this. You can keep taking yourself seriously and staying stuck, or you can decide to start living and do so imperfectly and start moving forward. The choice is yours. So what are you going to do? Are you going to stay stuck, or are you going to start living? All right, everybody. That's everything I had to say. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace out. Bye.